Many countries and regions legally offer basketball betting. China's sports lottery provides NBA betting, while international sites like Bet365 offer a far wider range of options, including esports. The proposed border construction fee on private cars leaving Hong Kong by land, as part of the budget, has sparked debate, while concerns were raised about its compatibility with the spirit of promoting integration between Hong Kong and the mainland, and whether central government approval had been sought. The Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Chan Mei Bao, avoided direct answers, stating only that the Bureau would actively cooperate with the research and that the proposed policy adhered to the principle of user pays, and those who can afford more, pay more. Daily land border crossings, which only recently returned to pre-pandemic levels of approximately 40,000 vehicles, with 60% being private cars, are relevant to this discussion. Some businesses have voiced concerns that the measure would reduce SME's willingness to expand into the mainland market. The 2025-26 budget allocates over 1.2 billion Hong Kong dollars to the Hong Kong Tourism Board, HKTB, a nearly 20% reduction from the 2024-25 revised budget. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, Catherine Loh, acknowledged the government's continued fiscal challenges, stating that the HKTB's use of reserves is reasonable and that the HKTB agrees. While the resumption of the individual visit scheme from Shenzhen led to increased tourism, a subsequent decrease in retail sales in December suggests a potential shift in spending patterns, with higher visitor frequency potentially resulting in lower per capita spending. Following last month's 10% tariff increase on Chinese goods, the U.S. announced further 10% tariffs on additional Chinese imports. Effective March 4, the Hong Kong government is seeking clarification from the U.S. on whether these tariffs apply to Hong Kong products, noting that Hong Kong exports to the U.S. represent only about 1% of its total exports and therefore the current impact is not very significant. Regarding a previous proposal to challenge the tariffs with the World Trade Organization, the government stated it is developing its strategy and will file a complaint as needed. The new budget outlines separate management strategies for operating and non-operating accounts, stating only that the former should adhere to a balanced budget principle. Facing questions about the budget's compatibility with the Basic Law, Financial Secretary Paul Chan reiterated that the two account structures have always existed, denying any manipulation or new financial strategy. He emphasized that any final discussion of the fiscal deficit will consider both accounts comprehensively. The government's financial report for the first 10 months of 2024-25 shows robust revenue of $441 billion and expenditure of $597.2 billion. Accounting for debt issuance and repayment, the deficit stands at $59.9 billion, comfortably covered by the $674.7 billion in fiscal reserves as of January. The Kai Tak Sports Park officially opened today. While 8,500 tickets were made available last week, approximately 3,500 had been claimed by the evening before. According to Sports Commissioner Zai Kin Bun, He reminded attendees that only physical tickets will be accepted and encouraged those who haven't collected theirs to do so at the stadium between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. today, noting a 3 p.m. cutoff to manage crowds. The Kai Tak Sports Park opening ceremony takes place this evening. The government again urges citizens to use public transport. Sports Commissioner Soi Kin Bun reiterated that parking at the Kai Tak retail area will be closed today due to the expected tens of thousands of attendees. The sports park cannot accommodate sufficient parking, and to avoid congestion from drivers circling for spaces, parking will not be available for future large-scale events. He also reminded attendees that professional photography equipment, water bottles, and umbrellas longer than 35 centimeters are prohibited. The Transport and Logistics Bureau and the Transport Department received an enthusiastic response to their invitation for expressions of interest in a smart, green mass transit system for the Hung Shui Kio, Ha Chun and Yuan Long South New Development areas. 27 submissions were received from local, mainland Chinese, and overseas companies, exceeding the responses received for similar projects in East Kowloon, 35, and Kai Tak, 30. Following a February 2022 monkey attack, a 37-year-old man became Hong Kong's first reported case of B virus infection. Herpes B virus. The Center for Health Protection, CHP, recently reported the patient's death on June 18, 2022, in its Infectious Disease Surveillance publication. The CHP is reviewing its communication protocols to determine how to balance the timely release of information with the need for thorough investigation and effective public health response. Hong Kong's Harmony Association, a 24-year-old organization focused on minority ethnic rights, voluntarily dissolved after a special members' meeting. The executive committee cited the completion of its historical mission as the reason for disbanding, while the chairwoman, Chong Ming Lin, attributed the decision to the fulfillment of the group's aims and denied political or economic motivations. The former director, Zhe Young Ling, subsequently held a press conference criticizing the explanation as unconvincing and announcing plans to continue providing similar services independently. The Hong Kong Integration Association, which advocated for ethnic minority rights, announced its dissolution yesterday, while its former project director, Wei Ya Mok, expressed disappointment and claimed insufficient notice. The government views this as a natural progression reflecting the successful completion of its core objectives. The association's programs, including language classes and community outreach, have already laid a solid foundation for the continued integration of ethnic minorities in Hong Kong. Former Chief Executive and Vice Chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC, Leung Chun-ying, recently raised concerns about high-potential individuals arriving in Hong Kong solely to obtain residency for their children's education and tax benefits, then returning to mainland China. This concern was underscored by the recent influx of mainland job opportunities at the High Talent Pass Spring Recruitment Fair. When asked whether individuals returning to the mainland after obtaining the High Talent Pass would still be considered eligible, The Undersecretary for Labor and Welfare, Ho Kai-ming, stated the government hopes these individuals will live and work in Hong Kong, welcoming those employed by Hong Kong companies who are posted overseas, but stressing that a reasonable explanation must be provided to the Immigration Department at the time of visa renewal, considering factors such as immigration records and tax returns. He added that employee postings overseas are common and expressed hope for talent mobility within the Greater Bay Area. The Legislative Council's Finance Committee approved a 3-year extension to the repayment schedule for the Chinese University of Hong Kong, CUHK, Hospital's 4.033 billion Hong Kong dollars government loan. With 63 votes in favor and 9 abstentions, the extension pushes repayments to 2028, while some legislators raised concerns about a projected 400 million Hong Kong dollars funding shortfall by 2028. CUHK's vice chairman, Chen Tak-lin, confirmed the university is exploring market-based financing solutions, including patient capital, with positive initial responses. The Undersecretary for Health, Li Ha-yan, clarified that any such financing plan would require further Legislative Council approval. Two cargo planes departed Hong Kong on the day before yesterday, but failed to reach their assigned altitudes of 5,000 and 3,000 feet respectively due to slower than expected climbs. This resulted in dangerously close proximity, triggering a traffic collision avoidance system alert. One aircraft had to descend to 2,500 feet. A preliminary investigation by the Civil Aviation Department, CAD, revealed that air traffic control personnel deviated from established procedures. These personnel have been temporarily removed from frontline duties. The Secretary for Transport and Logistics, Chan Mei-bo, stated that even one such incident is unacceptable, emphasizing the government's commitment to aviation safety and ordering the CAD to complete a thorough investigation and submit a report swiftly. Industry experts have questioned whether both air traffic control and pilots adequately monitored aircraft positions via radar and communicated any necessary adjustments in a timely manner. A fatal 3-vehicle collision occurred in Sung Kwan-o yesterday evening. A motorcyclist, stopped at a red light behind a tipper truck on Wan Po Road, was sandwiched between the truck and a city bus that failed to brake in time. The motorcyclist, critically injured, died in hospital. The city bus driver was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving. Immigration Department officers raided a cleaning agency, arresting 15 undocumented workers and 6 local employees suspected of knowingly employing them with forged documents. The agency allegedly used electronic timekeeping to place the mainly mainland Chinese workers, who entered as tourists with pre-arranged fake IDs, in various restaurants for dishwashing and cleaning. The trial of 8 defendants accused of plotting 3 bombings in early 2020 under the Terrorism Amendment Bill continued for its 61st day yesterday. A police explosives expert testified to the discovery of TATP powder, glass jars containing low-grade flash powder explosives, and drain cleaner in 2 locations linked to the defendants. The expert stated one location appeared to be a bomb-making facility, the other a storage depot for raw materials. The judge rebuked the defense counsel for questioning the possible alternative uses of drain cleaner, stating, "After all these days, You're asking this question? Quote, customs officers seized over 10,000 counterfeit and controlled medications, worth approximately 850,000 Hong Kong dollars, from 3 pharmacies this week following a tip-off, arresting 4 men. The men were released on bail pending further investigation. A transportation worker is on trial for the death of his 3-year-old daughter, who suffered a brain hemorrhage and fell into a coma after a violent shaking incident in 2020. He died on her 3rd birthday. The defendant denies murder. Court proceedings continued yesterday, with the prosecution presenting a police interview video showing the defendant claiming his daughter was playing alone in bed when he heard a noise while using the toilet. Upon exiting, he found her on the floor, subsequently convulsing. A cleaning company employee was jailed for 2 months for deleting files during a competition commission investigation into bid rigging in public housing cleaning contracts. The West Kowloon Magistrates Courts found the employee guilty of destroying evidence, a crime that carries a prison sentence. This is the first conviction and jail sentence for obstructing the Competition Commission's investigation. The defendant was granted bail pending appeal. In the 141st day of the trial against Jimmy Lai and Apple Daily for colluding with foreign forces, the prosecution presented evidence of Lai's statements after the implementation of the Hong Kong national security law. This included interviews and articles where Lai claimed Apple Daily would continue operating. In court, Lai clarified that Apple Daily would operate within the law, stating that he was not foolish and that Apple Daily was not a criminal enterprise. However, he acknowledged taking risks that bordered on violating the national security law. A minor traffic incident occurred this morning in Kwai Chung involving 3 vehicles, one of which was an electric car that experienced a suspected mechanical malfunction resulting in smoke. Emergency services responded swiftly, extinguishing the smoke and safely removing the vehicles. One driver is being investigated for possible drink driving. The cause of the electric car's malfunction is under investigation.